Before I begin, I just want to say this about this episode. Before I begin, I just want to say this about this episode.
Scanning for audio.
Welcome to a Tin Dog podcast, this time discussing episode 12 of 2013. Yes, our normal 13 episode run is done, but that's fine. Because this year we've had such wonderment, such a remarkably strong season. I mean, yes, when Gallifrey turned up, my wife did turn to me and go, "It's only a model." Because, you know, that's the sort of thing we like to do in our house, which is randomly quote Python sketches. But that's fine. They're American listeners to this podcast. They understand that completely. Behold the utter pointlessness of reviews. You see, and I've said this before many a time, and if you want to know the precise origin of this, there are two things. One, Ratatouille, and two, my old mate who used to have this as a point of view. Reviews of any sort are largely pointless. You see, you're already interested in the actual article. You've either already seen it or already bought the book. And basically, all reviews are either there to make you, well, to reinforce your opinion or to make you quite cross. Now, the people who make you quite cross are the sort of people who end up in newspapers with their own review columns. And that's very nice of them, but they also end up being largely disliked. And they do spend quite a large amount of their time, well, lying, because there's no way they could possibly dislike everything. Similarly, there's no way everyone could possibly like absolutely everything. So all reviews, all of them, break down into, if you like this sort of thing, you'll like this sort of thing. And that's hardly helpful. That's hardly some groundbreaking thoughts. And so, us podcasters always fall down at this point, and we always end up going, what else can we discuss? And the things we discuss are the minutiae, the details, the stuff that I called the distractions. And the hugest distractions on display here are, of course, what I have to talk about first. First off, of the last few seconds of this particular story. No, not some advert for Christmas. No, something much more important. Something that made my heart soar. The new sonic screwdriver. Now, because I get to see this episode before any spoilers come out or any photographs are released of the Christmas special or anything like that, I didn't know there was going to be a new sonic screwdriver. Oh no, I just did a little dance. Like the gold dance from the Detectorists. This was something that made my heart soar. It's a lovely sonic screwdriver. It lights up sideways. Oh, I hope that the toy does that. And yes, with River Song being the Christmas special, it would have made more sense for the Doctor to have, say, River Song's sonic screwdriver and then hand it over. But that's not important. It's alright, it's a little bit important. But what is important for me is that there's a new one. Is that this is a Doctor without shades. This is a Doctor who's going to look sunlight in the eye. And yes, that's just one tiny bit of minutiae. The other gigantic punch the air in the moment thing that makes you make the noise that I make at the beginning of this podcast. Squee. And yes, the other thing that made me make that squee type noise was, well, obviously, The use of Filcher's TARDIS. Yes, the TARDIS that was last seen in, Adventures in Space and Time. Because let's face it, we all had a bit of a campaign in our own head canon to try and get Capaldi involved in the classic TARDIS. And it was basically just a massive excuse. I won't use the precise words that my wife used on the grounds that I've got a clean podcast. But yeah, basically, it's the writer and Capaldi just having a lovely little dance and having a lovely little time. Yes, it's Filcher's TARDIS, but that's all right. The fact that it's stolen and the ending has that... I'll talk about the ending in a minute. I will, because we've got the whole of the rest of the episode to review. So they're the things that we talk about. They're the things that we fixate on. They're the things that make us do a little dance inside our heads, because they're the things that our fans service. They're the distractions. The distractions from the huge, large narrative, from the ongoing emotional drama, all of that business. Like someone who puts the TV on when something awful's going on in their life just to distract them. That's what these things are. They're not the story. They're just moments that make us all warm and glowy, us old school fans. They're for us. So yeah, moments like, hey, I'm going to shoot you just so that once and for all it will be made canon on screen that you can have a Time Lord to not only change gender but change apparent race. There you go, it's happened on screen. There is nothing anyone can do about it. It's not a mention, it's not something that happened away from the camera, it's something that happened in front of you. Get over it. And that is what we've got. Yes, Death Baby Man flew, which in itself is a gender-specific thing. Oh, let's not go down gender-specific roads just yet. That's enough to confuse anyone. But yeah, in front of you, on screen, well, on the floor in a glowy fashion, for a start, the Doctor shoots someone. And yes, he justifies it badly. And yes, there'll be a lot of people kicking off about that one. Or perhaps not. Let's face it, I'm recording this way before the episode's been broadcast. So we just don't know. So yeah, these are forever in your canon. There is nothing you can say or do about it to stop it from being true. So yeah. And of course, one of the other distractions, the thing that the competition is about, the hybrid. And you know what? Deep down, this is like season 6 of Buffy, because there is no villain. There is no hybrid. Because the hybrid is such a spurious thing, such an odd little concept, that it's not worthy of going into, because it doesn't really exist. What exists is the motivation for Rassilon. Is that Rassilon? That's not Timothy Dalton. Yeah, he's regenerated into the bloke who was in Jekyll and Hyde last week, and far too many old Doctor Who's, and he does give a brilliant performance, but you only know it's Rassilon because of his glove. There's less spitting involved this time, which is always a bonus, and the performance is great. But yeah, as always, I'm getting a bit ahead of myself because I've just got so much to say. So getting back to this half-human hybrid business, there is no half-human, there is no hybrid, they're all true. And there are two people standing at the edge of time, on Gallifrey, watching the universe end. And yes, for those pedantic ones amongst us, there was no Danny Pink standing off screen, which is what I thought. Sorry, Orson Pink? I'd just thought he'd turn up and go, hello, I've been at the end of time before. I've been sitting here for hours, looking out the window. I am the last person standing. This is the thing that you said would happen. This is what you expected. So obviously, the universe ended across a way, was ending in a wave, and the last thing to go would be Gallifrey or something like that, with 5 minutes left. Oh, and with 5 minutes left, surely somewhere in the universe, shouldn't there be a restaurant hanging around, waiting for the great Prophet Zarquan? Imagine I've gifted a sample from The Hitchhiker's Guide and inserted it here. Makes more sense. All stories are real somewhere. That is the ultimate universe, multiverse theory. Everything that you write or say or think about has happened somewhere. That should terrify you. This could be the only universe where that isn't true. In a multi-universe, all things are true, including the fact that all things aren't true. That will melt your head if you think about it for too long. So, this half-human hybrid business, where does it help us stand with our conversation or our competition? Well, what I've decided is, because all rumours and all thoughts are true, and nobody really knows what the hybrid is, all entries into the competition are valid. Everything that you said or thought or speculated upon is worthy of being entered into the competition. I've had about 30 entries so far, and if you'd like to still enter, you've got till the 15th of December before I draw and do a special podcast about that very thing. So yeah, if you've already entered, well done, you got the correct answer, because all answers are correct. One of the small moments that made me very, very happy was when the gigantic spaceship out of 2000 AD turned up and pointed at the space barn. Oh, that one set. It's as if they've left it standing somewhere. It must be the universe's oldest barn. Well done for not being converted into some houses. And yeah, the Doctor turns up and is recognised. And yes, he draws his line in the sand. And yes, he's a hero and all that business. But most importantly for me, and that's because it fits in with the rest of the series and the soup agenda, the Doctor is told to put his weapons down. And what does he put down? He puts his spoon down. Yes, because spoons are the world's most incredible weapon, after, of course, pens. And yes, the thing that I've not discussed by far is the ending. Yes, you can bring back Clara if you want, because Mr. Moffat refuses to let anybody die. And that's fine if you like that sort of thing. And yes, it is a complete reversal of the War Games ending. Don't take the memories away of the companions, which is what we've been learning and were primed to expect. No, you take away the Doctor's memories. But he's not thick, he can fit everything together, and he'll have a photograph of her, he knows what's happening. And yes, in the background of the diner there is an English fire warning sign, and we can let that one go. But the fact that it's an old TARDIS that's got us stuck. Well, is it a restaurant at the end of the universe? Is it Millie Whiz? Is it the Big Bang Burger chef? Maybe that's what we have to go with. So yes, Ishilda gets to live forever in a nice big armchair again. And Clara gets to live forever, both of them remaining forever young. And yeah, that might be questionable, but it could end up being a Big Finish spin-off. And that's not going to be a bad thing, is it? The Adventures of Ishilda and me? Sorry, Clara and me. Clara and me? I'm not convinced. Oh, and was it me, or were the sliders, the Wraith, the Matrix Wraiths, or whatever they were called, did they look more like Dalek, Gallifreyan Time Lords than anything else, because they slid around and had those faces? And as far as I'm concerned, they're the most hybridy Dalek Time Lord things going. So yes, it's all kind of pointless, because in the long run, all stories are real, all reviews are. Do you like this sort of thing? Of course you do. Then of course you liked it. Then agree with me. I'm not going to shout and rant, because it was a perfectly well done story, a perfectly well executed thing, and I loved it, and I made a squee noise. Well done for bringing back the sonic screwdriver. Well done for finishing off Clara's storyline and letting her die happily ever after. And yes, the fan fiction has already begun to be written, but that's fine. That's what Doctor Who's here for. So bring on the Christmas special. It's only a couple of weeks away. Have you got all your presents in? Oh, and just before I go, I just need to say that I haven't heard a single email from anyone asking what my Patreon goals should be. What do you think they should be? Go on, have a think. What would you like me to review? What would you like me to talk about? Absolutely anything. Just give it a go and contact me. And remember, if you want to become a patron, just nip over and help out. It is genuinely needed. In the next few weeks, there's the possibility that I might be doing some sort of, joint podcast with someone you've not heard for a while. So don't quite delete me from your feeds just yet in order to come back for next year. I'm always here, probably reviewing books and big finishes. And the War Doctor's here next week. So until then, be seeing you. You've been listening to the Doctor Who Tin Dog Podcast. Available on RSS, iTunes, Audioboom, Tumblr, and wherever podcasts are found. Why not become a supporter of the show by visiting patreon.com/tindog. Doctor Who and its associated properties are copyright of the BBC and no infringement is intended. To contact the show, email tin-dog@hotmail.co.uk. The Tin Dog Podcast is a founder member of the Doctor Who Podcast Alliance.